the backcourt. Brandon Dawson and Gavin Schilling up front for Michigan State. For Iowa, Mike Gesell is always at the point. Peter Jok is making his 4th consecutive start. And then a lot of length and ability in the front court for the Hawkeyes. Jared Utoff, Airman White, and 7'1" Adam Woodbury. Something a little extra for you tonight. Joining us on our team is the coach, Seth Greenberg, who's going to give us some extra access inside the huddles during the game. And he was even in the Michigan State locker room moments ago. Coach?
Yeah, I was just in the Michigan State locker room and listen to Tom Izzo talk to his basketball team. Couple of keys. Good teams become great teams when they win on the road. He went over personnel and called Gabe O'Shaney an X factor. And then he talked about rebounding and running. Defensively, defend without fouling. Don't get him to the line, especially Aaron White, who gets 41% of his offense from the free throw line. And finally, be the toughest, hardest playing team. That's Michigan State basketball.
All right, so thank you. Well, Coach Izzo got his bald shot out of the way at shoot-around today, so evidently he didn't have to do that in the locker room.
People with hair can be so condescending.
I know. But we will persevere, as many people have here on this wintry night, to get inside the building just to get to Iowa City. In fact, we're down an official right now. Mike Eads and John Gaffney are here. Chris Beaver is not. He is braving the weather and hopes to be here midway through the first half. Brandon Dawson is definitely here as Michigan State strikes first.
You know, Brandon Dawson, the leading rebounder in the Big Ten and one of the best offensive rebounders in the country. This is the first time, he's a senior, the first time he's ever played here at Carver Hawkeye Arena, because he's been injured the last couple years when the Spartans have played here.
And a great matchup between Dawson and Aaron White with the basketball now for Iowa. Two very different players, both of them playing at the 4 spot for their respective teams. Woodbury, the 17-footer, in and out of the rebound down to the Spartans.
And whenever Denzel Valentine gets a rebound, he can bring it up himself, one of the best passers in the country.
And away from the ball, we've got a foul on Woodbury. How about the matchup of Valentine and Jared Utoff at the 3 spot?
Well, we've talked about versatility, and Utoff is another versatile player. And Iowa's unique in that they play through their wings. So Utoff and White are going to have the ball a lot in their hands. They make a lot of decisions. They can both drive and they can both shoot it.
And they're both 6'9". Dawson and Valentine are 6'6" and 6'5" on the Michigan State side of things. But of course, their versatility and athleticism can pose some problems for Iowa.
Iowa likes to mix defenses. They'll show a lot of different looks. Out of bounds under, they go 2-3 zone, and they'll play this a number of different times throughout the game.
Dawson with a nice bounce feed into Schilling. He'll kick it back out. Valentine is wide open.
Well, you don't get that much time to shoot in a horse game, let alone a game of 5-on-5. Iowa's got to get out there quicker. I thought that Schilling should have shot that ball when he got it, but Michigan State wound up getting something better.
So a good start here on the road for Michigan State. They lost their conference opener at home in double overtime to Maryland, as Utah scores on the inside, assist to White. Then they bounce back with an impressive one-sided victory over Indiana on Monday. Iowa's 2 wins are at Ohio State and at home to Nebraska.
Iowa's been playing much better, and you know, Seth Greenberg mentioned it, that Tom Izzo really reinforced with his team. They got to play without fouling, and this is a team that is 3rd in the country, Iowa is, in free throw shooting, and they make more free throws than their opponents attempt. And Aaron White gets there 7.5 times a game, makes over 80%.
Trice with the corner 3 after the great penetration and kick from Valentine.
Well, with Trice, he's really been struggling from the field. He did have 26 points against Maryland in the double overtime loss. He had to put up a number of shots to get it, over 22 shots to get that.
Well, Utah just airballed to 3s, a 40% three-point shooter on the season.
The one thing that Iowa cannot do against this Michigan State defense is settle. I mean, they've got to be tough when they're running their offense, because this is a very physical team. They're physical on cuts. You have to run through those cuts without getting stood up.
It's probably not as physical a team as some other Tom Izzo coached Michigan State teams, but it is still a very physical group. And the call is going against Michigan State. It'll be on Schilling.
Yeah, just an illegal screen. You know, they're not. Michigan State's not as big at the guard spots as some of the teams he's had before. Like Travis Trice isn't as big. Bryn Forbes isn't as big. But I still think they're really physical, and they do a great job in gap protection. Their help side defense is as good as anyone in the country, and especially over the last 3 or 4 games. They've been playing really good position defense.
And they still lead the Big Ten in rebounding margin, which is kind of a staple of Tom Izzo's teams. Matt Costello has checked in for the Spartans for Gavin Schilling. Woodbury sizing up his options and will not take a shot against Costello.
Boy, they are really staying in between their man and the basket.
Shot clock's at 2. And Woodbury hits it. It's not the way Fran McCaffrey drew up the possession, but it works out for them.
Well, Tom Izzo's over there smiling. They play 34 seconds of really good defense, and a broken play gives up the bucket.
And a travel is called on Bryn Forbes. That'll rile up the crowd here. The crowd's a little bit thin because of the weather, and the students aren't back in class yet. But the weather is something. We're talking about wind chills of about 15, 20 below, 30 to 40 mile an hour winds right now. Flights canceled. We mentioned one of the officials, Chris Beaver, is not here yet. So we applaud those who have made it out to this game here tonight.
Listen to you complaining. I mean, which one of us is Canadian, you or me? Come on.
Gazelle banks it in.
Well, how about Mike Gazelle going down in the post and taking Travis Trice low? Boy, look how quickly Michigan State gets that ball up court.
The scoop, no good by Trice, and saved by Valentine. Trice in the corner. Offensive rebound for Javon Best, the freshman out of Columbus, who has checked into the game. And Dawson winds up with a reverse, another assist for Valentine.
Well, Iowa can play really good first shot defense.
You're going to do a better job there.
Thanks. Thanks, sir.
All right, thanks, Seth. And our thanks to the Iowa and the Michigan State programs who have granted us, Jay, really some outstanding access that we're going to see from Seth around the huddles all night long.
Well, it's due to the special relationship that Seth Greenberg has with both Fran McCaffrey and Tom Izzo. They've said that he can offer whatever advice he has during the game.
Hey, Dawson's off to a good start, and it's a 6-point lead now for the Spartans.
Boy, Dawson has bullied Iowa thus far. And Fran McCaffrey and Seth Greenberg both mentioned it. I mean, the offensive rebounding for Michigan State is going to be a huge issue in this game. And you mentioned that, Michigan State is rebounding. They're out-rebounding their opponents by over 8 a game. But that's like saying Syracuse has the most snow. It's going to happen every single year. That's what they do.
Long jumper for Gazelle. Back within 4 are the Hawkeyes, and Michigan State turns it over. And that'll draw the ire of Tom Izzo. He's out on the court with some thoughts for his freshman at point guard, Tum Tum Nairn.
Well, securing the ball is job number 1. It wasn't a great pass, but you've got to come back to that ball and present yourself as a receiver. Michigan State puts a ton of pressure on you with their transition offense. I mean, you have to get back and fan out the shooters. You just can't get back in the middle of the lane, and you certainly can't buddy run. You can't run with your assignment. You've got to get out ahead of the ball. That can wear you out.
Utah says he was fouled as the jumper comes up short.
Javon Best was right there. Best is a heck of an athlete.
Nairn, not known as a shooter, knocks down his first. He actually started the last game against Indiana, went 3 for 5 for 7 points after going only 5 for 27 on the season before that game.
Well, 7 games before that Indiana game, he hadn't scored a field goal. He'd had a free throw or 2, but hadn't scored a field goal for 7 straight games and scored 7 points, 3 for 4 in his first start.
Long jumper, no, and another rebound for Dawson, who's the Big Ten's leading rebounder at just over 9 a game. Crowd wanted to walk on Nairn.
It was a pretty good job of passing ahead by Brandon Dawson.
Valentine off the back of the iron, loose ball to Iowa with a foul against Michigan State as well.
Brandon Dawson gets such good position in the low post. And he's going to move his man up the lane, and he is stronger. He got lower than Aaron White and just pushed him up the lane and created that space. He's not a shooter. So if you can push him off the lane and make him face up, he's not going to make a high percentage of 12 to 15 footers. And he's not a very good free throw shooter, but you get him around the basket, he is explosive and a great finisher.
He is 3 for 3 tonight, 6 points and 3 rebounds, less than 6 minutes into the game.
But Michigan State is so alert. They're inside that three-point line. They're going to have their heels on the three-point line, but not go out any further.
Josh Oglesby with it, and off the bench for Iowa into Gabriel Olasheni, who was fouled by Costello. And we'll head to the free throw line. ESPN Saturday Showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy features a great doubleheader. It'll be Ohio State and Indiana in the first game at noon Eastern, and then Louisville and North Carolina at 2 Eastern, both games Saturday on ESPN.
You know, Dan, Gabe Olashieni at the free throw line, he just came off an 18-point game against Nebraska. He made 12 of 13 from the free throw line. One of the most energetic players in the Big Ten. You know, he's 6'10", he can get out and guard ball screens, really good rebounder. Both he and Adam Woodbury form a really nice center tandem for this team. They average about, what, 16, 17 a game and 11 or 12 rebounds. They block 4 shots in a combined 40 minutes. And that's a really good, productive center tandem.
And Michigan State has somewhat of a similar story between Schilling and Costello, also getting better than 15 points and 11 rebounds out of that duo.
Very similar. I'm not sure they're quite as good offensively. You know, Woodbury can knock down a face-up shot. I think Olashieni a little bit better in the post.
Costello, nice look. Trice. Nairn back to Trice with 7 to shoot. Dawson. Fadeaway jumper. And the rebound down to Anthony Clemens.
That's the difference between pushing him out to 12 feet and letting Brandon Dawson have that low post position where he can get to the rim.
Utah.
Oh, good help by Costello.
Olashieni misses the 8-footer, and the length of Utah secures the rebound, but then he misses the follow.
You know, Dan, Iowa is getting opportunities, but they got to finish plays. You're not going to get a bunch of chances against Michigan State. If you get a chance near the bucket, especially on the second shot, you have got to score, get fouled, or both.
Nobody for Iowa has ever beaten Michigan State, as Nairn has his second field goal of the game. The Spartans have won 8 in a row from the Hawkeyes and 13 of the last 14. Good deep position there by Olashieni, and it'll be the second foul on Costello.
Olashieni has dominated Costello down in the low post by getting that position. Costello's got to play him earlier and play Olashieni before he gets the ball. He's just got caught behind 2 times in a row, and it's been 2 fouls.
And there's what you were talking about a little bit earlier, the productivity out of the big men combos on both teams. Costello's going to have to go to the bench right now after picking up his second. Schilling will come back in for the Spartans.
You know, Costello's a very good player, and he's a really good post defender. Boy, I'll tell you, when you play a really active player like Olashieni, and he's going to work his tail off to get position, it is really tough to play help side defense and contain your man and keep him off that spot.
If you stretch out Olashieni's numbers to a 40 minutes per game, and we understand nobody plays 40 minutes per game, but on a 40-minute basis, he's about 19 points, 11 rebounds, and 4.5 blocks per game.
That's pretty good. Now, a lot of people say, well, why don't they play him for 40 minutes? Well, the reason is when you've got a player like Adam Woodbury, who's one of the smartest defenders in the Big Ten, you know, he's got to play. And Woodbury does a great job for Iowa of communicating the defense that they're in and what the other team is running. He's almost like a football linebacker in that regard. Both he and Aaron White do a great job of that.
The drive by Marvin Clark Jr. Olashieni rejected it, but there's a foul. It might be going down low. It's not on Olashieni. It's on Anthony Clemens.
Michigan State, Dan, is getting into the lane almost whenever they want. I mean, they're moving the ball, and they're doing a really good job of getting player movement as well. But after they've made 3 or 4 passes, and if they put it on, and this is not a team that is known as a great driving team, but they're getting a piece of the paint on most every possession in this game, and that Iowa's got to tighten that up. By Marvin Clark Jr., Tom Izzo said he's the strongest player that he's coached, that he can bench 185 pounds 26 times.
If you're the strongest player that Tom Izzo has coached in 20 years, you're strong.
Man,
he's had some strong guys.
Unbelievable. I mean, strongest player obviously on this team, but holy cow, like, I can lie on a bench for 26 reps. I just can't finish them.
Olashieni now defended by Schilling. Turnaround jumper, no good. Jock keeps it alive. Jock gets it back. In and out on the 3. This building was ready to erupt if that shot had gone down.
Really good hustle by Peter Jock.
Schilling gathers.
Double dribble.
Crowd wanted it. Ewell fouled over the back by Clark. to take us to the under 12 media timeout. 6-point lead, Michigan State. Tom Izzo with Seth Greenberg when we come back.
And by cut out, he means block out. That's terminology that Tom Izzo uses that not many others do. He talks about when he says they need to guard, they need to check. And when they need to block out, we need to cut out. That's got to be an Upper Peninsula thing. It's from some sort of Uper dictionary that nobody else has access to.
Michigan State up 6, just about 9 minutes into the first half here in Iowa City. This is Dom Ewell, 6'8" freshman from Frankfurt, Germany, number 25 for the Hawkeyes.
Tell you, Dan, I think Seth Greenberg has done, with so much equipment there, he's done a great job. He looks like he's in a pit crew member at a NASCAR race.
Coach, you having fun? How is it talking to coaches coming out of the huddle?
Traveling with Bill, I think I'm just his valet. Was your coffee hot enough this morning, Bills?
It was hot enough, but late.
You can't please him, Seth. You just can't please him.
High maintenance talent.
Valentine misses the 3. Boy, Olashany gets down the court in a hurry, and he's going to make Costello and Schilling work on defense all night long.
But Denzel Valentine got back and put pretty good pressure on the ball and took away vision just for a split second.
Olashany slips inside.
And then just when you're praising him, he's not there on help side defense.
Already 6 for Gabe Olashany. Iowa back within 4. Valentine in and out. And Iowa doing a better job in recent minutes protecting the defensive glass.
You know, it's interesting. When you play Michigan State, you really do have to send all 5 guys to the defensive glass because they're so good offensive rebounding. Sometimes Michigan State will send 4 to the offensive glass. And that can affect your break. It's harder to run when everybody's inside the lane near the bucket and rebounding.
Jock pull up on the baseline. It's a 2-point game. That's a shot that not as many people have in the college game as you would think. Coming to a jump stop like that, knock down a 10-footer. Listen to the crowd. Iowa right back into it.
Well, good job by Anthony Clemens there to cut off the sideline.
Forbes gets the bounce.
Where they cut off the sideline and they weren't able to get a trap and pin the ball over there, and Bryn Forbes just got to the lane way too easily. You know, Tom Izzo not happy with the way his team is guarding in the half court. Great pass.
And Olashany gets free again. Schilling got a piece of it, and there is a foul call coming from John Gaffney, who was not under the basket. He was up high, but he has made the call, and it's going to be Schilling, I believe, and that'll be his second. So Costello's got 2, Schilling's got 2.
Well, the ball was passed beautifully on that little pick and roll, and Olashany opened up. He rolled right to the basket hard and was wide open. That was a beautifully executed pick and roll play.
And Tom Izzo, in his pregame talk, called Olashany the X factor because he's so active in their action, in their motion. He can post, he can come off back screens, and when he catches it, he can move the defender, which makes him really difficult to defend.
And he plays hard. And the thing I love about him, Seth, is he plays so hard on the defensive end. Like, he can block shots in the lane. He guards in the post. But one of the things is the way he guards ball screens. He's one of the better hedge defenders that I've seen in college basketball. Another turnover on the inbounds.
Utah steps into a 3. And Dawson soars for the rebound. Olashany's now 6 for 6 from the line already, after, as Jay mentioned, going 12 for 13 from the line in Iowa's last game. And there's the length of Utah for another block shot.
How is that not a double dribble?
It's turning into the Gabe Olashany show here in Iowa City. Colby Wallenman has come into the game, and he is called for the foul.
Olashany gets the ball inside. Now they're going to say that he didn't have control of it, but he dribbled that ball to get control of it. But then he just is so strong with it inside and finishes the play. You know, Olashany has really played well this season. Played well last season, but he's really asserted himself. And over the last 3 games, especially, he's been terrific.
Got a very unorthodox free throw shooting style, but it works, and they're loving it here at Carver Hawkeye. Trice with a floater from the baseline. Rebound down to Gazelle. Look ahead, Olaseni. Seven-0 run, Olaseni and Iowa to take a 3-point lead.
And there's Olaseni switched out on Valentine.
And staying with them. Stagnant offensive possession here for Michigan State. And a block by Utah. Tom Izzo's not going to call a timeout. He's going to let them play their way through it. Dawson nearly turned it over. Now he does. Uthoff is everywhere at the defensive end. Aaron White, no. And Dawson hustles back for the rebound.
One of the few times in transition you'll see Aaron White make a mistake.
Trice. The lob and the finish for Dawson.
Well, that's the kind of answer that Tom Izzo wanted to see. Get something to quiet this crowd. Most coaches would have called a timeout, oftentimes maybe even Tom Izzo. That's a foul. He got fouled.
They play on, and back come the Spartans amidst some booing here at the non-call. Forbes looking for the foul call, didn't get it, and back come the Hawkeyes.
I don't think Michigan State is factoring in the length of these Iowa Hawkeyes in challenging shots. You know, even after a shot fake, Bryn Forbes was slow getting into that shot and winds up getting it blocked. Valentine, the same thing.
They're 6'10", 6'9", 6'9", 6'8", and then Gazelle at point. The foul on Forbes. Jay, what a run here for Iowa.
Well, Iowa, an emphasis was transition defense, but they have gone on the offensive, running the floor. Gabe Olaseni, and then the blocked shot by Jerry Uthoff. The long and lanky three-man takes it down and finishes that defense into offense. And Iowa.
Thursday night showcase, Gabe Olaseni and Iowa now with a 3-point lead on Michigan State. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, and Coach Seth Greenberg. Coach, what are you seeing over there?
Well, Michigan State, they've got to get to the offensive glass and get out in transition, because as opposed to years before where they had a guy that could just go make a play off the bounce and get someone a shot, they've got to run a play now. And at the end of those plays, if they don't get a room and rhythm shot or get the ball posted tight to the basket, they really have a hard time scoring. They basically get stuck offensively at times in the half court.
You know, that's exactly right, Seth. But, you know, one of the things they got to start doing is knock off these turnovers. I mean, a number of their turnovers, they've got 5 turnovers already. 3 of them have been really unforced and just been trying to go too fast or making a dumb decision, because when they're running offense, of their 9 field goals, 7 of them are assisted. So they're getting basically what they want when they run something.
I totally agree. And something, they had a moving screen and just a mishandle. But I think what happens, it puts so much pressure on them. They're one of the highest assist teams in the country, and they assist on 66% of their field goals because they do set good screens and they run great stuff. They just don't get anything easy. And, you know, to win on the road, you know, Tom says good teams become great teams when you win on the road. To win on the road, you've got to score some easy baskets.
Well, and on top of that, Seth, good teams become great teams when they keep the other team off the free throw line. I was shooting way too many free throws from Michigan State's perspective. But I'll tell you what, the Hawkeyes, if they keep getting to the free throw line, this is a great free throw shooting team. And if they can, you know, take shots with no defense on them from the free throw line, you got to like Iowa's chances.
It's their best offense sometimes.
Well, that's Wallenman second. So Schilling and Costello and Wallenman each have 2 fouls here in the first half for Michigan State.
How about Wallenman? Got a 39 on his MCATs. Now, how many analysts know that? That is digging deep.
Yep. He's a guy who was a walk-on, actually came to Michigan State on an academic scholarship, was put on an athletic scholarship this year. He's a fourth-year junior, a redshirt junior, and he's got his hands full with the 7'1" Adam Woodbury.
The only other MCAT score I've ever known was Gaylord Fokker from Meet the Parents.
Woodbury, the offensive rebound.
Boy, that was a nice job by Anthony Clemens to shorten up the length of that pass.
And the third foul on Wallenman. Woodbury back to the free throw line.
You know, Tom Izzo isn't going to be happy with Colby Wallenman there for leaving the floor on that little shot fake. You know, don't give Woodbury a path to the basket. And Adam Woodbury has started every game that he has played here at Iowa because he's a smart player. I mean, he's got a big body, good rebounder, excellent screener, can make a face-up jumper, and he knocks his free throws down at a high rate. But one of the smartest defenders you're going to see in college basketball.
And they are getting to the line, and they are knocking them down. Of course, Woodbury misses that one as soon as we said, but he makes one of two. He and Olashaney have been dynamite in the middle for the Hawkeyes so far tonight, and they have turned an early deficit into a 6-point lead.
Iowa back to man after spending a possession in a 2-3 zone. They're going to run their pin downs here.
Valentine.
Nice pass.
Nairn misses the three. Uthoff another rebound.
And a good block out.
Jock. Wow. Foot on the line. A tough step back two from the corner.
You know what you love about that shot, Dan, is there was zero hesitation. Zero.
Yep. Just moved into the starting lineup. This is his fourth game to inject a little more offense. So Anthony Clemens now coming off the bench. And Jock is doing his job. The chant of defense booming through Carver Hawkeye Arena. Iowa already 2-0 in the Big Ten play. Only Wisconsin and Iowa are undefeated in conference play. And it's a shot clock violation on the Spartans. All right, and the best joke is, of course, an inside joke. 8-point lead for Iowa over Michigan State with 3:02 left here in the first half. Dan Shulman, Jay Billis, Seth Greenberg with you here in Iowa City. Michigan State got off to a great start. They were leading 12-6. It's a 24-10 run since for Iowa. Gabe Olashaney did great work at the offensive end. And Michigan State, Jay, had 3 offensive rebounds in the first 3 minutes. They haven't had one since. And now Iowa's getting hot from the outside. Their first made 3 of the game. Jock knocks it down, and it's the biggest lead of the night for the Hawkeyes.
Well, Peter Jock has really injected a lot of energy in this team from the offensive end. Has hit some big shots, and he's playing with a ton of confidence.
Trice with the answer. It's a 3 for Trice.
Boy, he is a tough player. You know, he may be relative to some other guards around the country slight of build. He's gotten a lot bigger and stronger over the course of his time at Michigan State. But that guy is one tough cookie out there.
And a guy who's endured all kinds of injuries and illness over his 4 years in East Lansing as well.
Including a brain virus that really was dangerous.
Uthoff, how about that? The floater for the 6'9" junior.
So now when we say Jared Uthoff is really skilled, everybody knows we're right. What a play.
A transfer from Wisconsin. Actually sat out 2 years, redshirted 1 year up in Madison, and then transferred. So he went 2 years, Jay, without playing actual organized basketball. But boy, does he have some talent.
You know, he's a guy that I think has the ability to play at the next level someday because of his skill level, his length, and his understanding of what's going on out there.
Big ovation for Jock as White comes in for him, and now Olashaney will check in for Utah. Olashaney with a game-high 13 points.
Boy, Iowa cannot let that happen. I mean, Travis Trice just waltzed into that shot in the corner. And in special situations, out of bounds under. That's like giving up a layup. When you let a really good three-point shooter step into an open three, that's a huge defensive mistake.
Third three of the night already for Trice. Woodbury out to Clemens, who was a high school teammate of a couple of Spartans, Valentine and Forbes. They won a couple of state titles together. And right now, Michigan State just has no answer for Olashaney.
Well, Olashaney's outworking him. He's getting low post position and a foot or two in the paint. And he is burying his defensive player in the paint and getting that angle where he doesn't have to make a post move. He's just down in the post and scores. Big time plays by Gabe Olashaney.
And we're back in Iowa City, a 9-point lead for the Hawkeyes over the Spartans, despite the fact that Michigan State's knocking down some threes.
You know, simple out of bounds play. You can see Travis Trice is going to come right around to the corner, and Anthony Clemens and Aaron White have to communicate here. One thinks that the other's picking him up, and nobody does it. And all of a sudden, Travis Trice is completely wide open and gets to set his feet and knock a shot down.
And they just get it in time as we move into the final minute of the first half. Dominated early by the Spartans and dominated ever since by the Hawkeyes.
Michigan State can get a 2-for-1 here.
Trice lobs it up. Dawson gathers, can't finish. Tipped back out by Wallenman. Trice inside to Dawson, and he misses again. And now about a 4.5-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock, and it looks like Fran McCaffery wants him to hold for one.
Well, that means with this difference in the clock, you can just take the shot clock all the way down to 0.
Tom Izzo just got teed up. He gave an earful to John Gaffney, the official, and got a technical for his trouble.
And I don't think Tom Izzo minds one bit about that. That he wanted to get a point across that he thought that Brandon Dawson got fouled. Brandon Dawson gets this ball underneath, goes up, and there really wasn't much there, but I think it was a little bit earlier that he thought he got hacked. They wound up getting the ball back. Wallenman knocked it back out. And John Gaffney had told him enough, and he gave him a little bit extra.
Aaron White at the line. Earlier this week, he became Iowa's all-time leader in made free throws. And for a guy who was lightly recruited coming out of high school, his last two options were Iowa and Duquesne. He came here, and he is leaving with some of the biggest numbers any Hawkeyes ever put up.
He's just had an amazing career. Talk about the versatility. Now, here's where I think Tom Izzo thought Dawson got hit. Went up, thought he got hit on the arm, and he did. But it wasn't called. They had another opportunity. They just didn't finish it. And this, I think, can really hurt. Actually, Travis Trice got away with a walk there. But he got hit. You know, Woodbury came down on him, but they didn't get the call. But here's where this hurts. You get 2 free throws, and it's point of interruption, so Iowa keeps the ball. They can get the last shot in the last score of the half.
Shot clock now turned off.
And the other thing, Iowa's got the arrow, so they get the first possession of the second half, so they can have a little silent run here.
And Tom Izzo is still barking. This time it's at Mike Eads, another one of the officials. And now away from the ball, an offensive foul going against Jock as he knocked down Trice. So Michigan State will get it back.
Well, there's plenty of time, 4.1 seconds. You can get the ball all the way down court.
And Trice will try to do just that. He's still going. Cannot finish the layup. It's helped to his feet by his teammates. He appears to be okay as the first half comes to a close. Over to Carver Hawkeye with Gabe Olashaney leading the way, 15. And the Hawkeyes with an 11-point lead, 39-28 over Michigan State here at halftime. Let's send it over to Seth Greenberg with Fran McCaffery.
Fran, you closed the half on a 27-10 run. What was the difference in the last 15 minutes compared to the first 5 minutes?
Our defense was a lot better. I mean, they got open looks early. We just weren't as sharp as I thought we'd be, but we revved it up. Then we got some opportunities to get out in transition. We got the ball inside. We started making some baskets. Our energy level got a lot better, and our focus was better.
Gabe Olaseni, he is a load on the low block. What are you going to try to do at the beginning of the second half to keep him going?
Well, we'll keep throwing it to him. He's got good feel. He's got a great spin move. He can turn and face. He can sigma. He rarely takes the bad shots. You can play through him.
Good luck.
All right, Seth, Fran, thank you very much. Good half for the Hawkeyes. They're up 11 on Michigan State. Time now to send it back to the studio. Adnan Berg, Shane Battier, the Mazda halftime reports.
They've got to clean that up, and they've got to get better shots. They're actually passing up some open shots, take some bad ones. They got to improve offensively.
Javon Bess is a freshman who broke his foot before the start of the season, missed the first 10 games, came back, sprained his right ankle, came back, sprained his left ankle. He's not 100%, but the thought has been for a couple of weeks now, Jay, that Tom Izzo wants to work him into the starting lineup.
Well, he's going to be a really good player, but working him into the starting lineup allows Tom Izzo to bring some shooting off the bench. So Bryn Forbes can come in off the bench, and all of a sudden, instead of bringing some non-shooters off the bench, he can bring a shooter in, and then Forbes is more likely to be guarding a sub than a starter.
And Bess is also a terrific rebounder for a player his size. He's a sturdy 6'5" guard. That's him with the ball right now, but he can really go get it on the glass.
Well, the problem is he doesn't have a lot of experience. Missed the first 10 games, so he's still trying to essentially get his legs back under him, and he doesn't really know what he's doing yet, but when he does, he's going to be really good.
Schilling the kick. Bess is open inside the arc, and Dawson got a piece of it, and it will be Michigan State ball.
Iowa scored 39 points in that first half and did so with their star player, Aaron White, scoring only 2. He had 2 free throws, 0 of 1 from the field. If Iowa can get him going, I think they can really get some offense.
Good position down low as Schilling just found himself unguarded, or relatively open at least, under the basket, and they score off the inbounds.
Iowa's given up 5 of the easiest points they've given up all night just on out of bounds underneath. They gave up that Trice 3 in the corner in the first half, and then that layup to Schilling.
Utah had a terrific first half. Nice pass. Utah to White for the slam.
Iowa does such a great job of moving without the ball. Their offense really is motion-based. It's about 50% motion with some set plays in there. And a lot of times they'll call a set after running some motion for about 20 seconds or so when they get toward the end of a clock.
Well, the Hawkeyes looked like they were on their way to potentially a big season last year, but they really faded down the stretch. They lost in overtime here to Michigan State. They didn't play well after that. Lost in their first Big Ten tournament game to Northwestern. Lost in their first NCAA tournament game to Tennessee. As Trice finds himself open and buries the 3. And you said right off the top of the show, for them to be considered among the best in the Big Ten, they have to beat the best, the traditional powers in the Big Ten. And winning here tonight would be a positive step in that direction.
Well, I do think it's sort of a mental health win for them, that they've got to prove to themselves they can beat a team like Michigan State, one of the traditional powers in the league. I think they believe they can do it, but I think they have to prove it to themselves.
Deflected away. It'll stay with Iowa.
Now here's that inbounds play right off the start. There's going to be a double screen set right here, and then you're going to see Gavin Schilling. Now, my finger's not working on the telestrator, but watch Gavin Schilling just cut right to the basket. Woodbury doesn't pick him up, and Udolph is a little bit late getting there, and they give up a wide open layup.
I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times, charge that finger.
I know. I got to put more ink in my index finger.
Zelda inbounded for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, Jay, it's amazing how much time coaches spend on walkthrough and special situations, cover them for hours and hours on film. Yesterday they spent probably 20 minutes on it. Today they spent 20 minutes on it. They gave up 5 points. That's why I have no hair.
Well, I used to laugh. I used to laugh when I was a player. Me and my teammates would kind of joke around. We'd go through these long scouting reports, and our coaches would talk, and we were unbelievably prepared, but our coaches would talk about, well, okay, we're going to take away this reversal. We'll take away this pass. We'll pressure this. They won't be able to see it. And we'd say afterwards, it's going to be a shutout. This is going to be great. We're going to hold them to 0.
Dawson picked up a foul, went to the bench. Clark came in for him. Clark picked up a foul. Now Dawson's getting ready to check back in. A lot of action over in front of you, Seth, with Tom Izzo making a lot of subs here. White. He only shoots it at 24% from beyond the arc on the season, but he makes his first try tonight.
And that's big time. You know, they take all the action toward the right and then almost in misdirection fashion throw back to the left, and he was wide open coming up the side of the court. You know, that's just great action. See, on this ball screen and roll, everybody goes with the roll guy, and you see the replace up by Aaron White. He comes up, he's wide open, he's ready to shoot when he catches it. And if the closeout were a little quicker, he just shot, fake, and drive. You know, we talked a little bit earlier about Adam Woodbury and how he's really good with scouting reports. I think the guy that's best with it is Aaron White. Like, he sits and watches. Both Seth Greenberg and I watched him watch Kirk Spiraw, their top assistant, go over the scout team, and he watched every minute of it so he could learn everything about the Michigan State offense. And he's basically calling out their plays while they're running them.
And you asked him today at shoot-around, how familiar are you as Valentine hits a three with what the other team is trying to do? And he said, I try to memorize everything that is given to us. They're given a pretty thick playbook, right, or a handbook on what the opposing team is trying to do offensively.
Yeah, the scouting report's probably about a half an inch thick. And most of the players, they'll read it, but they're not internalizing every little thing.
There was a lot of contact. Somebody was going to get a foul there, and it's going to go against Woodbury. Mike Eads saying he was using his elbow.
Yeah, I think that was the right call. He was dislodging Gavin Schilling in there. Schilling did a good job defensively. It's been a rough ball game for both Schilling and Costello, having to guard Olashany and Woodbury down low, and they got the benefit of it there.
So Woodbury sits down, and now Olashany back into the game, and we'll see if that makes things even tougher for Michigan State. Olashany got anything he wanted to in the first half, scored 15 first half points, including a perfect 7 for 7 from the line.
Well, the first thing you have to do with Olashany is run. You'd better beat him down the court, otherwise he's going to establish low post position. And there's that defense by Olashany, how he stopped that drive.
And our first media time out of the second half. Iowa up by 8 on Michigan State. He's healthy and he's having a good night. He can play with just about anybody in the country.
You know, an attack power forward that's undersized. You know, I think that the Wooden Award is not going to go his way. I don't think Brandon Dawson's going to be a candidate at the end of the year for that award, but a terrific basketball player.
And a travel is called on Trice. He just got swarmed by a trio of Iowa defenders.
You know, Iowa calls their trapping, they'll yell dog. You know, for when they want to blitz or trap, they call it a dog. And they just dogged Michigan State right there and forced that turnover.
And again, they're so long at so many different positions. Here's Forbes, about 6'4", defending Uthoff, who's 6'9". He's their 3-man.
And he just looks right over him. You know, Forbes just can't get any pressure on him to really bother him.
Uthoff free at the free throw line, left it short.
Well, he faded away on that shot. If he goes straight up, I think he makes that.
Trice. Dawson tips it back out.
Like, Brandon Dawson's just got another step on his ladder that the rest of the players just don't have.
Yep. It's the length of Uthoff against the athletic and leaping ability of Dawson. Costello averaging about 11 a game his last 7, still scoreless tonight, but Valentine doing some great work on the offensive glass.
And that's the one area where Aaron White needs to get stronger. His low base isn't that strong, so he got pushed out of the way by Valentine, who has a lower base.
Jacquemus, Costello a rebound. Here comes Michigan State again. Dawson from Valentine, and all of a sudden it's a 4-point game.
And Valentine got fouled on that play with no call. That's the way it goes on the road.
Tom Izzo and the rest of the bench agreeing with you. They were in disbelief there was no call there. 7-0 run and a quick one for the Spartans.
How about Michigan State slapping the floor there? They may owe like trademark copyright royalties to Steve Wojciechowski.
Jock with the ball, had a good first half for Iowa.
Good help by Matt Costello. See, that ball's got to go into Olaseni. He's wide open.
Instead, it's Clemens. Misses the three. Here comes Valentine. He'll pull up.
Got a foot on the line.
Yep. And it is a long two. They're going to take a look at it, I believe.
It was on the line, no question. Well, how about 1-on-4 there for Valentine? He pulls up.
And it is. So it will stay as a two. Michigan State is making a run. Tomorrow night.
You think Steve Kerr made the right decision going to Golden State?
Wow. They are fun to watch.
And not only does he get to coach some great guards, really amazing guards with the way they shoot it, but he gets to watch his daughter play volleyball at Cal. His daughter's an outstanding volleyball player, a libero at Cal.
What do you want to see from Iowa here? What's their response got to be?
Well, I think they need to continue to get something that's going toward the basket because they need to continue to get to the free throw line. Good duck in by Olaseni and really good defense by Matt Costello to take that away. But Iowa's got to put Michigan State in a position of fouling. They've gotten a good advantage in this game at the line.
Pass is tipped away by Valentine. Winds up in the hands of Costello when he finds Trice. And Michigan State can tie or take the lead. They were down 11 at halftime.
Now you're going to see this piston action. It's a single double for Forbes. Comes off the single side and then they post Valentine.
Olaseni wraps up the rebound and is fouled. And it's going to go on Valentine.
Now, I didn't think Valentine set as good a screen for Forbes as he could have and probably could have caught that ball a little bit deeper. And you'd like to see, I think Tom Izzo would have liked to have seen him go toward the bucket to try to get fouled and complete the play. You know, it's amazing. Michigan State's only shot 2 free throws in this ball game.
That is amazing. 27 minutes in.
Yeah, and it's a team that's being outshot and outscored from the free throw line on the season. Now, I didn't think they shot a lot of free throws last year. I mean, this year, you know, they're not getting there at all.
Olaseni, 2 more. His first points of the second half, give him 17 on the night.
Is it Olaseni or Elijah? He's been really good in this game. You know, last 2 games combined, he's shot 20 free throws. He's just been more aggressive than the big guys he's playing against.
He had 18 against Nebraska on Monday and 17 already against the Spartans here tonight. And he comes off the bench. He's not a starter for this team.
Not a starter for now.
Costello off a nice feed from Trice.
Boy, those actions are so hard to guard. You're looking at a floater and nobody's worried about Costello on the back end. Kentucky does a lot of that stuff, and it is really difficult to deal with.
And Valentine's going to get called for another foul. It'll be his 3rd.
Anytime you get a drive like this, people are going to help up. So Udhoff is going to go for the shot block and really had no chance to get it, but it opens up a pass, but also opens up the offensive glass. So even if Trice had shot that and missed it, Costello would have been there for the offensive rebound.
Tum Nairn into the game for Valentine, and Brandon Dawson returns for Javon Bess.
One of the great names in college sports right now, Lou Rawls Nairn. You'll never find a better name.
Lou Rawls Nairn Jr.
Did you get the "you'll never find" part?
Yes.
You might be too young for that. Seth will get it.
I'll tell you, this is a Tum. He's trying to give the Iowa a little indigestion, but this is a really small lineup for the Spartans with Tum, Trice, and Forbes.
And a high riser in Dawson. And it's tied at 46.
Now Greenberg goes with a tum indigestion joke. He'll be here all week, folks. It's a 2-drink minimum.
Seth, you're better than that.
I was waiting all game for that one.
Utah just taking advantage of the mismatch on Forbes.
Yeah, Forbes just isn't strong enough or tough enough to be able to guard Udhoff down low. And that was a great job by Iowa of recognizing the mismatch and going right at it.
And Trice will draw the foul on Gazelle. We got a good one going here at Carver Hawkeye as Michigan State has made a run here in the second half. The turnover, the lob, and the finish for Dawson. Good crowd here in Iowa City despite the bad weather outside. A 2-point lead for the Hawkeyes over Michigan State. And we saw Tom Izzo unhappy after this defensive possession. What went wrong?
Well, Brandon Dawson allowed Bryn Forbes to switch off on Jared Udoff on a simple pin down screen. And I saw Tom Izzo really getting all over Brandon Dawson over that, and I wasn't sure what it was about, but it had to be that what are you doing switching out there and leaving a guard on Jared Udoff down low? There's no reason for you to switch that.
You're talking to Tom yesterday. He said they were going to do less switching in this game as opposed to Indiana because of the mismatches. You can't leave Tri-State in a bad matchup. And that's a scouting report mistake that costs you 2 points. That can cost you a game. So, like, when you see Tom Izzo getting after Brandon Dawson, see, that's a teachable moment, but it's also, hey, we went over this in film. We went over this in walkthrough. All right, you're a senior. You've got to be locked into that. That's not a mistake you can make to give up 2 easy points.
You know, and we often talk about toughness, and the coaches have talked about toughness in this game. But how about the toughness when we came back from break of those 3 Iowa fans eating ice cream when it's sub-zero outside? That is toughness.
That lineup, Jay, that they had, Tom had to get them out of that lineup. I mean, they just had bad matchups everywhere.
Jock misses the jumper. The Spartans can take the lead. Nairn trip, no call, and back come the Hawkeyes.
You know, Iowa's got to run something here.
White tries to thread the needle to Clemens, and he gets caught underneath the basket. It'll be Michigan State ball. We've got more Big Ten action coming your way as the first part of an ESPN doubleheader on Saturday. Ohio State against Indiana, and then into the ACC, Louisville and North Carolina at 2 Eastern time, part of the Saturday showcase on ESPN.
I'll tell you what, Dan, you better man up in this game. I mean, Tom Izzo is talking to the officials now going, wait a minute, my guy gets tripped and then they're going over his back. I mean, you got to call something. You got to make a play in this game. The referees aren't going to give you anything.
And that's a guy who can make a play. Travis Trice, you said might be slight of stature, but you talk about toughness. He's got it. He makes a big shot to give the Spartans the lead.
Totally unafraid. Good job by Matt Costello to break contact and get around in front. He had a rough first half, was out of there early, but he's played in this second half.
Trice again. Timeout, Iowa.
Boy, what an answer by Michigan State. You know, they've been getting it handed to them for a good portion of this game. And in the second half, they came out. In the first half, they came to play. In the second half, they came to fight. And they've taken the fight to Iowa. Now, Matt Costello guards the ball screen, gets down, then gets in front, keeps that arm bar, and doesn't allow Gabe Olasheney to duck in and pin him in there. And then Travis Trice takes a little handoff, little step back, and shoots it right over Jared Udoff, who has long arms and has been really challenging a lot out there on the perimeter. And Trice has that look in this second half. He's been really good.
And Jay, he is 6 of 7. 6 of 7 from three-point range in this game. And Michigan State also getting out and running a little bit more here in the second half, as you saw, something they always like to do. Trice came into the game at 36% on the season from beyond the arc, and he has boosted those numbers significantly here tonight.
Well, you had mentioned earlier about all the injury issues that Travis Trice has had to deal with, concussions, that brain virus, you know, having to spend all that time in a dark room when he was dealing with the concussion issues. But he has been injury-free this year. And boy, has he played some good basketball throughout the course of the early season.
Stepping into the point. First time really he's been a full-time starter. Of course, Keith Appling was with Michigan State last year. They lost Appling. They lost Gary Harris, Adrian Payne. They lost a ton of talent off last year's team.
Wait, does Brandon Dawson ever grab a rebound that's under the rim? It's amazing.
He can certainly play the game at a different altitude than just about anybody else. The Big Ten's leading rebounder at 9 a game, and he's got 9 tonight.
I didn't grab rebounds this high on a Nerf hoop.
And he's a 6'6" guy who's really the 4-man for Michigan State. He was a wing. He really played the 3 for the last couple of years, but he's playing much more of the 4.
Can you imagine how good he would be if he could shoot it?
Oh boy. 39% free throw shooter, does not get fouled a lot, does not go to the line a lot, does not really have a a jump shot. He gets a lot of his on dunks, lobs, transition, that kind of thing.
Well, I really believe this to be true because he doesn't shoot the ball well from the free throw line. He doesn't want to get fouled. So he doesn't put himself in as many positions to get fouled because of his lack of free throw shooting. Good step back.
And Trice can't miss right now. This one's a 2. His first 2 of the night, but he's got 21.
Now you can diagram all the defense you want when you can make shots. I mean, that's good offense overcoming pretty good defense. That was a really, really good step back shot by Travis Trice. That kid's a player.
Olashaney and draws the foul. There has been an 18-point swing in this game since halftime.
You know, Mike Eads right now is talking to Gavin Schilling. Schilling a little bit too vociferous in complaining after that. And Mike Eads did what I think is a great job there. Instead of just blowing a technical on a player, it's a little bit frustrated. The game's physical. He's on the road. You know, he just lets him know, hey, look, enough. And did it in a calm way and diffused a situation. Instead of what, and I'm not taking shots at other officials, but what a lot of officials will do, they'll stop and glare at a guy, you know, and stuff like that. That was great by Mike Eads.
One of 2 for Olashaney.
Well, 1-2-2 3/4 court pressure. And I think Michigan State needs to break this to score.
A steal by Jock. A lob for White, and that was Trice getting back, all 6 feet of him, to jump up and swat that ball out of bounds.
Boy, Tom Izzo's got to be really upset. Matt Costello catches the ball. There's nobody that really gets into the middle the way they're supposed to, and they wind up throwing the ball away. Instead of attacking pressure to score, they wind up giving Iowa a near dunk on the break, only by with Travis Trice making a great defensive play. Did they take that away?
Gazelle misses from the corner. Valentine with a good block out. The ball still loose, though. Utah's got it and finishes a much-needed bucket for Iowa.
Denzel Valentine didn't go to the defensive glass, left Lou Rawls-Nairn, left Tum Tum all by himself down there. He's not big enough to keep Jared Udoff out of there.
Nairn back to Trice wide open. His 7th 3 of the game.
What a pass.
Nairn the assist. Costello the rejection. And it'll be Iowa ball as Trice goes hurtling over the Iowa bench.
I don't usually call grown men tum-tum, but Lou Rawls, tum-tum Nairn, that is a big-time pass to a big-time shooter in this game.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by the Burger King 2 for $5 menu.
Louisville and North Carolina, part of the Journey to the Tourney, presented by Sonic. The only loss on the season, Jay, for the Cardinals, as you well know, is to the Kentucky Wildcats, and they've got some guys. They've got 3 different players who have scored 30 or more points in a game this year in Harrell, Blackshear, and Rozier.
And that doesn't even count Chris Jones, who has been spectacular of late. After that Kentucky game, I mean, he has bounced back and played some great basketball for Louisville.
Costello is having himself a really good second half after a foul-plagued and minutes limited as a result first half. He's done a much better job on Olashaney.
He's done a really good job. And you know that Tom Izzo had to be getting into him at halftime about being stronger. And there he doesn't foul. He holds his ground, goes up after Olashaney leaves the floor, and then he blocks the shot. That was excellent defense by Matt Costello.
Jay, he's doing a lot better job of defending him early and getting him off his spot. So now when he puts the ball on the floor, he can't get 2 feet in the paint like he did in the first half.
That's exactly right. He's playing his man before he gets the ball instead of after, which is what the better defenders do.
Forbes with a corner 3.
And Forbes is saying he got hit.
So Trice is 7 for 8 from three-point range, and Michigan State as a team is 10 for 14.
Well, Forbes is a really good shooter, as is Trice, but Trice hasn't been shooting the ball as well of late. He was 4 of 22 from 3 in his last 4 games coming into this one. This one he's 7 of 8.
Utah lays it in with the left hand. Iowa down 8, 6:40 to go. Remember, nobody wearing an Iowa jersey has ever beaten Michigan State. The Spartans have won their last 8 against the Hawkeyes.
Well, Brandon Dawson was wide open under the basket.
Travel on Valentine.
And Nair needs to see that. He had pressure on him. But both defenders went with Denzel Valentine into the corner. And Brandon Dawson was wide open. Now here's a terrific pass cross court. That's tough to get through there, but I thought that he got hit there as the ball was just after it was released. And you have to protect shooters. He got hit. They need to call that.
He's a 45% shooter from beyond the arc on the season. And Michigan State, there it is, 10 for 14 from three-point range tonight. White. Good defense by Schilling. Forbes from the other corner, and this time they do call the foul, and he'll shoot 3.
Well, Iowa got lucky the first time. Now in transition, when Brandon Dawson gets that rebound, instead of looking for an outlet, he just busts out and takes it himself. That starts the break, and he got it to Valentine, who's such a good passer. I mean, that was a terrific pass into the corner. Iowa got lucky not getting a foul called on the 3 on the opposite side of the floor, and then they call it a cardinal sin of you never want to foul the jump shooter. You just put pressure on it, but you're not going to. How many jump shots do you block?
And you send a guy to the most efficient place on the court to score. You were talking about it before the game today. If you look at points per possession analytics, or whether it's the eye test or the numbers, the free throw line is the best place to be.
You know, Dean Smith was the first I ever heard talk about points per possession. And he wrote a great book on basketball called Multiple Offense and Defense, where he said that the perfect possessions in a basketball game are going to get fouled every time you have the ball, because that way you'll shoot free throws, and that's the highest points per possession of anything you can do on a basketball floor. I mean, I look at it this way. In basketball, you get to score with no defense when you get fouled and go to the free throw line. So why wouldn't you put yourself in that position as often as possible?
2 of 3 for Forbes, but we have a violation against Iowa. I think it was Uthoff who tried to keep his balance and keep his toes out of the lane and couldn't do it.
I've never understood why they give him another free throw. They should just give Michigan State the ball.
Why do you feel that way?
Well, when you miss a free throw, like, what's the advantage of getting in early? Is you can get possession of the basketball. So you're denying the other team a chance to get possession. So it's not another free throw. You didn't distract a free throw shooter. They should give the non-violating team the basketball.
Tough layup by Gazelle. Iowa trying to hang in. They were up 11 at the half. They're down 9 right now. Less than 6 minutes to go. Wisconsin and Iowa are the only Big Ten teams who are unbeaten in conference play. We're just a couple of weeks into conference play. Wisconsin's 3-0 after their win last night over Purdue, and Iowa's 2-0. They've beaten Ohio State and Nebraska.
That just wasn't a strong move by Gavin Schilling. He's got better in him. But really good defense by Iowa, and they have not defended nearly as well in the second half as they did in the first.
Trice getting ready to check back in for Michigan State. There's a foul on Schilling.
Well, Schilling just got caught. You got to play on the line, up the line, and when the ball's reversed, Olaseni just got right into his body and locked him down. You know, Dan, going back to the free throw thing we were just talking about, you know, the point is, if you miss a free throw and you get possession of the ball, you get to score 2, maybe 3 points. So if you deny somebody that second shot opportunity by getting in early, I've always felt like you should get the ball instead of another free throw.
Costello back into the game for Michigan State. Trice and his 7 threes return as well. White baseline, and it's fouled. And it's Dawson picking up the foul, his second. White will head to the free throw line. Aaron White has done more here in the second half than he was able to do in the first half, but it certainly has not been a typical Aaron White kind of night.
Well, this game is more difficult than some other games that Aaron White will play because Michigan State plays him in such a physical manner. And that's the next step for him as a player. And I think one of the things that'll make it, geez, he never misses free throws. He's an over 80% free throw shooter. That thing was wide right.
The other thing about White to me is he's so good when he gets out in transition. Michigan State does such a great job of getting back, locating, and taking his runouts away. And now you make him score just in the half court where he probably does most of his damage as a curler, not a post-up or a jump shooter. Don't you think, Jay?
I do, and Seth, that's a great point because any team, if you're going to play 5-on-5 for 40 minutes, your offense isn't going to be very good. You've got to get open court opportunities and play ahead of the defense.
Well, White with a block, and then Valentine picks up the loose ball, steps back, and hits a three. And Michigan State can barely miss from beyond the arc tonight. They've got 11 threes in the game.
They've just taken Iowa's heart out in the second half. I mean, Iowa's looking tired right now, and they're taking, that was a quick shot, and all of a sudden now they're going to play another 30 seconds of defense. And they're getting methodically beaten up in the second half. I mean, they block a shot and they don't stick with the defensive possession, and Michigan State winds up getting a wide open shot out of it.
Dawson finishes a shot that not many people could. He lost that ball on the way up, but because he can stay up there for so long, he had time to recover and make a play.
Olasheney had Costello buried, didn't get the ball.
Gazelle no. Utah with a rebound.
Well, how long is Jared Udoff? He just went right over the top of Denzel Valentine with those long arms. He's like Inspector Gadget taking that away.
Olasheney, and a foul on Valentine before the shot. 3:33 to go. Michigan State has rallied, and they're up by 14. Welcome back to Iowa City. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, the coach, Seth Greenberg. All Michigan State here in the second half in some ridiculous shooting. They're 7 for 7 from three-point range in the half, and Travis Trice is 7 for 8 from three-point range in the game.
Travis Trice has not been good. He has been absolutely spectacular. To go 7 of 8 from 3 when you're unguarded is really good, but to do it when you're guarded, I think, has been absolutely spectacular. He's moved without the ball. He's made shots by creating space and step backs in transition, you name it. And he has really answered the bell in this second half. 11 of 15 overall for Michigan State from 3. And really the guy that's been pulling up the rear in three-point shooting for Michigan State. This is how good it's been. Denzel Valentine's 3 of 6, and he's the worst three-point shooter out there right now.
He's dragging them down.
Yeah, he's really dragged down their percentages.
And Iowa's missing free throws, too, which they don't do very often. So that's keeping them at arm's length right now. Valentine, why not? Another one. This is a memorable three-point shooting performance for Michigan State. Now 12 for 16 as Gazelle's got a chance for a three-point play.
Well, Gazelle just went right into Travis Trice, spun and went into his chest and completed that play. Maybe the toughest offensive play that Iowa has made in this second half. And this has just been a methodical beating that Michigan State's put on Iowa in this second half.
Can you ever remember, as Dawson again just comes up with a rebound that other people can't get, loses it, gets it back. Can you ever remember a team going 8 for 8 and a half from three-point range? Or 12 for 16 in a game for that matter?
I'm sure it's happened, but I can't remember it. Well, I'm going to remember this one for a long time, because this was all Iowa at halftime. I was questioning the toughness of Michigan State and whether they came ready for a fight. And I'll tell you what, in the second half, they not only came ready for a fight, they've delivered knockout blows in this one.
When Iowa lost to Texas, they gave up 47 points in the second half of that game. In their loss to Iowa State, they gave up 52 points.
All I can
in the
say,
second half of that.
Well, all I can say is, how good is Texas Southern?
Walked into East Lansing and walked out of there with a win.
You know, before the game, Tom Izzo talked about toughness and the hardest playing, toughest team. And without a doubt, they've been that team in the second half. But, you know, I think about this second half, I think of Trice, I think of transition. They've done a great job getting out in transition and then defending without fouling. They've done a great job of defending without fouling so they can get out in transition. In the first half, Iowa lived on the foul line. And Matt Costello, I think, was kind of the unsung hero here because he did a terrific job in Olashaney.
You know, while you were talking there, Seth, Tom Izzo was going to a beverage, and he's getting a lot of vitamin C in this game. I've never seen him drink orange juice during the course of the game. He's not only hydrating, he is trying to fight off any sort of illness he might get.
Trice draws a foul. Well, this is Brandon Dawson earlier. He's going to have a little starburst.
NCAA violation, extra benefits.
There's the orange juice. Seth, what's going on over there?
Things are out of control over here at the Michigan State bench. But, I mean, peanut butter, bagels, nuts until this past year, and now Starburst.
No Starburst. And you know what? Izzo's so old school. That may be Tang.
It'd be interesting to see exactly what they tried to get through to these guys in the at halftime, because really their ability to sit in the stance. And Matt Costello defensively, defending Olashaney early and getting him one step off the block, and Trice showed something that maybe I haven't seen. You know, usually they run offense for him. He's creating offense off the bounce and separation off the bounce. And if he can continue to do that, this is a different Michigan State team.
Well, Trice has been the absolute star in this one, but I can't tell you how impressed I am with Matt Costello and how he's come out after a really difficult first half. Now, Tom Izzo's not going to be happy with that foul, but so what? I mean, Costello came out and answered a bell of his own in this second half and really fought Gabe Olashaney inside, and I thought has played defensively a great second half.
I totally agree, Jay, and you know, that's kind of the interesting thing when you have a two-headed monster in the post. If one guy gets in foul trouble, one guy's struggling, the other guy can learn from it a little bit. And, you know, you see Coach Izzo challenging his guys like he's on Matt right there, you know, because it's real simple. Either you're going to hold your players accountable and coach them, or you're going to condone them not playing the way they're supposed to play, not buying into scouting report, and then all of a sudden continuing to make the same mistakes. Obviously, at halftime, I don't know if it's an adjustment, but these guys bought into doing the things that they went through and walked through, and they've done them well.
Well, you know how hard it is, Seth, to go on the road. I mean, it is the hardest thing to do, I think, in basketball. And, you know, Tom Izzo's one of those guys where I think, you know, the mentality of a drill sergeant, he's preparing these guys to go into battle. And you don't want to make it, I'm not saying making a war analogy here, but just saying that, you know, he makes it tough on them so that they'll be able to react in these tough situations and make plays. And in the second half, they've been the tougher team by far.
You know, down the stretch right now, I'd stay away from ball screens if I'm Michigan State. They're blitzing and trapping those ball screens and being pretty physical there. I think they're better off right now, you know, moving the defense either by running some type of action or spreading the court and driving and kicking. But when two come together, Iowa's been pretty good this game, especially in ball screens, of trapping the ball and getting the ball out of the ball handler's hands.
Jock, who was terrific in the first half, fouls out here for Iowa. Oglesby will come back in, and Trice will head to the free throw line with a chance to set a new career high. He scored 26 points against Maryland last week, although he was 7 for 22 in that game, on his way to 26 points. If he makes both free throws here, he's got himself a new career high.
You know, I think Iowa's a good basketball team, and I think this is a good program. And Fran McCaffrey and his staff do a great job. But this is the kind of game that Iowa needs to win to move to the next level as a program. And when you get a team like Michigan State on your home floor, and especially with the first half that Iowa played, you got to come out like gangbusters in the second half. I mean, you've mentioned it, Dan. None of these Iowa players have ever beaten Michigan State. And this was, in my judgment, a golden opportunity, and Michigan State just took it away from them. They wrestled it away from them, and then they kicked them while they were down, beat them up. I mean, this has been a tail kicking of the highest order in the second half.
They've outscored Iowa by 25 points here in the second half.
And it wasn't just by playing pretty. I mean, it wasn't that they came down and ran some Princeton sets and got up some open shots. They bullied them.
And again, a Michigan State team, if you just look at the record, you say 10-5. What's wrong with Michigan State? I guess it's not a vintage Tom Izzo kind of team. But keep in mind, and a lot of teams have had injuries, but they've had some pretty significant injuries this year. And keep in mind, 3 of the 5 losses, Jay, as you will know, came in overtime. 1 at Notre Dame, and the Irish are having a heck of a season. 1 against Texas Southern. That's the somewhat inexplicable one where Texas Southern came in and beat them. And then 1 to a very good Maryland team in double overtime. They also played Kansas very tough, lost by 5. And the other loss on the season was to Duke, who's unbeaten. So this is a team I think that's better than their record suggests they are.
I don't think there's any question. No, I don't think this is a vintage Tom Izzo team. You know, it's not like his 2000 or 2001 teams. But this is a team that can be in an Elite 8 or a Final Four. They're capable of that because I think they're going to get a lot better. And as Javon Best gets healthy and really starts to get some experience and they get a rotation down, you know, they start bringing Bryn Forbes off the bench to bring a shooter off the bench, and they get Tum Tum Nairn some more minutes. I like this team. I think they've got a real chance.
And as you said, the first half of their conference schedule is easier than the second half. They got a chance to pile up some wins early.
And this was a huge one. I mean, to come in here and dribble out the clock with this kind of lead. I mean, a 14-point lead as this game ends, that's big time.
Trice leading the way with 25 for Michigan State.
And he's limping right now. Travis Trice is limping.
And Valentine will not put the ball up. Little sportsmanship there from Denzel Valentine. He'll dribble out the clock. And Michigan State down 11 at the half will, thanks to Trice and others, hopefully he's okay, defeat Iowa 75-61 as both of these teams now find themselves at 2-1 in conference play. Michigan State was absolutely lights out from beyond the arc on the night. They shot like crazy in the second half. They were 8 for 9 from three-point range in the second half. Trice hit 7 of them. Valentine hit 4 as they led the way. And this is a pretty impressive win on the road for the Spartans.
Michigan State was lights out offensively in the second half, but their defense really answered the call as well. They held Iowa down. They didn't give them anything in transition. I was really impressed with.
I be overseas catching Z's in the tropics. This bad little mommy say she wanna taste some chocolate. Pull up on the scene, roof scene, and I drop it. My car and my girl both match, they going to. I be overseas catching Z's in the tropics.